Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our Women in Technology speaker series. Today, I'm delighted to be interviewing Lynne Clegg, the Chief Information Officer and Head of Technology Europe at MetLife. Lynne has forged a highly successful career in technology, having previously held several other leadership roles, both at MetLife and elsewhere. So, yeah, I really look forward to hearing more about her various roles. And Lynne, if you want to just maybe start off by introducing yourself and giving a brief background overview maybe to our listeners, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure. I am, as you said, I'm the CIO for MetLife Europe. Um, for those who don't know MetLife, it's a global organization. So my role specifically is in representing technology in Europe, which is has a footprint across 16 different countries in Europe, with the head office in Ireland. Um, I've a lot of history in terms of my career, so I'm sure we'll talk about that. But just to say that my education background is more in business than in technology. So I've had sort of either business or technology roles throughout my entire career, and mostly worked in Ireland, although I had some time in the UK as well, and very much work in an international environment now. So that's great.
Okay, fab. So yeah, as I said to you beforehand, I did a bit of stalking of your LinkedIn, so I hope this doesn't come across too invasive. But yeah, so I saw that you studied BES in Trinity. That's correct. And
I did, yeah.
so yeah, kind of just wondering then, well, maybe firstly how you found your experience at university, and then what motivated you, I guess, to kind of swerve into becoming a programmer or entering the world of technology after your business degree? Was that something you always kind of had in mind?
Not really, I would say. I really wanted to do a business-based degree when I was in secondary. So I did very much target the, at the time, well-known courses, Trinity, UCD, DCU, had them all on my list. And I was delighted to do the course in Trinity, although a little bit jealous that some of my student friends did 1 year less of academic education than I did. But it was great. And the best thing about the course at the time was the variety of topics and subjects that we covered. So I actually came out really of that with the highest scores in accounting, at first in accounting and marketing. So I didn't really anticipate that I would end up in technology, to be honest. But a really great experience. And I think what's great to see now, I think, about education is the focus more on the practical experience as well, because that was really missing from that course for me at the time that I did it. But saying that, had a great time, lived in Trinity, all that goes with, the fun of being a student, and very much happy that I didn't have to do it virtually like you guys do today.
Yeah, not ideal.
Yeah, so that I know. So then I left. I lived in the oldest building in Trinity, in the coldest possible room ever, with a newspaper in the windows, to keep me warmer. And I had two shelves on my in my room. One was postgraduate application, for education, postgraduate education, and the other one was the graduate job placements. And explored those a little, but I just actually really wanted to break from Dublin, and I wanted to break from being a student. So I actually went to the UK. I went to Edinburgh, and did a few bits and pieces, just had fun, to be honest, for the summer. But I ended up in an insurance company in an operations role. So that was like my first proper job. I did an awful lot of overtime because I was so poor. But it was a very operational job, doing kind of processing of insurance policies, very repetitive. And the thing that really interested me there was how the company was trying to, bring itself out of the dark ages, in terms of, like, it was a lot of paper. This was the late 90s, okay, so a long time ago. A lot of paper, really only starting to look at things like imaging and scanning. So the technology improvements that the teams are bringing in was of real interest to me, and I kind of put my hand up to be involved in project work as a kind of an operations person, but do project work as well.
Mm.
And I kind of realized I had a strength in understanding problems, doing analytics.
Your camera,
And
sorry, Lynn, your camera.
my camera's going, sorry, yeah.
Okay.
Understanding analytics. And basically, I saw an opportunity to apply to a graduate IT role. The world was preparing for the millennium bug, and everybody was panicking, except me, really. And I applied to a role in another insurance company to basically be an IT graduate and to be a software developer, having no experience. We did 3 days of interviews and assessments. For a first job, it was quite intense.
Yeah.
And then I went into a 6 to 8 week program of training in software development, and that was really my first job in IT and first experience officially in the profession, if you like. So moved really into software and application work, and then progressed, over time into other roles. I worked in consultancy, in software consultancy, but I really shifted towards project management in my late 20s as kind of a skill that I had, and then sort of delivering technology more on the project side than the actual hands-on development.
And did that interest you more, the more managerial roles, or was that kind of just natural progression as time went on in those roles? I know sometimes
it was a bit of a natural progression in I think I've seen this route in, let's say, the more traditional delivery methodologies. It's quite common one where, I did software development. I was very good, but not brilliant at it. Like, I enjoyed it, but I was more interested in being in front with the end user, looking at what the impact is, than then in the basement, which is where we worked in IT, in the basement, in the back room, and being, one of the kind of workers in the background. So I preferred that kind of customer facing perspective. I moved into business analysis, then project management, but with that came team leadership as well.
Yeah.
So that was the progression there. So I would say I'm less technical than a lot of my technology colleagues for that reason.
Okay.
I don't have the engineering background. I don't have the infrastructure and networking experience technically in detail that some might experience in their careers.
Mm-hmm. And then I saw you did a diploma in management. Do you think that's something, obviously we have a lot of students on our hands, so do you think kind of furthering your education formally is necessary, or do you think that a lot of it can be kind of done as you progress through jobs? And or do you think, would you advise someone, let's say graduating, who might be same age as me or similar, that in these days you do need a further degree or something?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose I don't know what you're seeing in terms of the job market and the demand, for engineering students, but my personal opinion would be that typically the degrees and the education that we have, it can be quite broad and give you a lot of the basic skills that you need and insights that you need to move straight into some type of work experience, whether it's an internship or a sort of more permanent position. A lot of technical, like specialist, postgraduate education, which I think can be great.
Yeah.
So, whether it's analytics or artificial intelligence or cybersecurity, or like if you've got a particular passion and interest area, for sure, I would say, why not explore that? But for me, I came out of a business degree. It was very general, and I just wanted to get working. I just wanted to get going on my career. And then I've done a lot of it's not really on LinkedIn, but I've done an enormous amount of learning and development in technical specialist areas, in managerial, in leadership over time. On the leadership piece, though, I do think that, and like some people ask me about MBA, or those types of leadership training. I do think it really helps to have some experience behind you
before. Okay.
before, and to have that maybe self-awareness of yourself in the work environment. Do you want to be a leader or do you want to be an individual contributor? There's great career paths for both.
Yeah.
In the past, the perceived progression was that you had to become the manager or the leader to be successful, but that's not the case. So
yeah.
I'd say maybe think about that and then decide what education would interest you.
Okay. And then maybe more just into your current role, you're head of tech for MetLife Europe. This is a huge role, I'm sure, and probably a very interesting space to be in today's environment even. But is there any particular kind of emerging software automation process even in the industry or in MetLife specifically that you think, technology or data science, anything that you can kind of particularly pinpoint as being the future? What do you envision for the future of tech in, let's say, insurance? Is there anything particularly stand out?
Sure. So insurance, in particular life insurance, is probably further behind, I'd say, in adopting the latest, greatest technologies typically. And that's what people like Gartner and other statistics would show you. And why is that? I think it's because the length of time that the customer stays with us can be quite long if they have life insurance policies. So the systems we're running, some of them go back to the 90s. So systems we run today. So that's one of the kind of challenges we have in our industry. It's not unusual unless you're a brand new startup. So the types of things that are important to us now to kind of move us ahead. Cybersecurity is so critical. So any technology around security is, so really, really, really key. We have a lot of automatic scanning of our, our perimeter networks, but also our applications, our exposure to vulnerabilities, and automation monitoring. So all that type of technology, for those who are really into that kind of area, is really, really good and actually quite progressive. So a lot to keep up on in the wider context. In addition, then obviously data is key. I mean, I think the important thing is that the data that we have is secure, but secondly, that we can use it to truly understand our customer. And that's where we use a lot of analytics to, look at opportunities to do things like fraud, like looking at fraud and analytics around fraud, sales, segmentation of our market, cross-selling, and then a lot of regulatory and financial reporting. That all isn't so much easier when we have the data architecture we have. So we're doing a lot of work on data hubs. We've got Hadoop and other technologies in place. And then in addition to that, I would say we're relying a lot on robotics at the moment. So a process automation rather than artificial intelligence, to remove the manual effort we have on a lot of our processes and to automate, to bring efficiencies, essentially, on the repetitive activity. And then the last thing I would say is cloud. So we have quite a large infrastructure footprint, and it's expensive. And it's holding us back in terms of the time to build, to deploy that infrastructure. So we're really relying now on our cloud strategy to give us that agility we need to be quicker, but also to reduce cost.
Okay. So all very progressive, and definitely there's still so much scope there. I'd say it's such an interesting space to be involved in. Your role, I'm sure, is quite international. Like, I'm sure before pandemics, etc., you probably would have had to do a good bit of travel, would you?
Yeah, I did. I work to travel. So what I mean is, it's one of my pastimes. I absolutely love to travel. So for me, any cultural, challenge or
Mm.
being kind of a fish out of water in a new country and environment is something I loved. I love a place I love to be
Mm-hmm.
from a personal perspective. So when I took the role originally, I was told that I would be traveling maybe 40% of the time, but
Wow.
in reality, that didn't materialize, which is good because there's a balance of how
Yeah.
much you can take. But certainly in 2019, I lost count at 40 flights.
Wow.
Now that wasn't 40 single flights. Okay, so I lost count. Though I don't know how many I did. Um, I have a team across 16 different locations. There's a couple I haven't visited, but I feel very lucky that those locations are some of the most beautiful cities in Europe. So whether it's Prague or Bucharest or Budapest or Madrid or Paris or you
Yeah.
name them, I've been for work. So um, it's great, but it's not glamorous, and it's certainly not glamorous when it's Ryanair and it's 3-star hotels. so the stereotypical impression that people may have of traveling for work, the first class flights and the champagne isn't for real.
Yeah, but it's still an exciting role to have and like an added kind of dimension to a job. I think it's so, yeah, very cool. But
Yeah.
yeah, I suppose how is all your teams, are they managing, are they coping okay with the changes? Obviously, I'd say tech roles. I'm working in a software development team at the moment, and obviously, to be honest, work continues on as normal. They said if anything, it's been more efficient. Are your teams kind of coping with the at home stuff,
um,
lack of being able to see everyone?
yeah, I think 6 months ago, I would say that we were doing really, really well.
Okay.
In that um, we switched from office job to home job overnight. We had the technology, the infrastructure to convert everybody into working from home.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the teams, not so much in IT, but the teams across that we support didn't all have laptops, but we managed to kind of get everybody up and running quite quickly.
Okay, that's
But the teams that I have in my team in the country's environment are very used to working in person on the front line and
mhm.
with each other. So the biggest kind of downside of that is just that social interaction and personal contact.
Yeah.
And actually, they wouldn't have worked so much with the jam-packed diary of meetings. It would have been a lot more informal, like gatherings, and especially the analysts and the developers to just kind of just get on with the work.
Mhm.
So most of my team, the feedback I have from my team right now is that people are tired of lockdown and the lack of, like it's not an unusual story in any of the countries I'm working with. The uncertainty, the inability to plan their personal lives or something, an event to look forward to, is taking a toll on morale. Where everybody's very, very busy, probably working a lot more than they should be because they have nothing else to do in
Yeah.
some cases. Um, some people are loving it, and then others are living in an apartment with a 2-bedroom apartment and one living area with 2 kids and a
Mhm.
partner or a dog or whatever the situation is, and finding it really difficult to find the space
Yeah.
to be kind of comfortable.
No, there's definitely a lot of challenges, but hopefully we're nearing the end. At least you can kind of operate work-wise as normal, though. That's definitely one of the advantages.
Yeah, it's been great. And the biggest benefit we've had from it is the sense of community that we've built between the countries that
Okay.
never really existed before. So I think we really all feel that we've truly come from country or regional to be truly a global company in terms of how we're collaborating and
Well,
working
that's great.
together. So that's been really, really good.
That's a big positive. Okay. Yeah, that's we can take some goods from this.
Oh,
Um
for sure. Yeah, yeah.
I guess the last question, which is quite general, but it's probably one that we kind of ask everyone, is that would you have any advice specific? Now, obviously, this is the Women in Tech series, so any advice or maybe something you can reflect on from your own career that you'd have for a female who's hoping to break into the world of tech? That can be as general or as specific as you want.
Yeah,
Um,
sure. So I've gotten asked this a few times in my career because even now, unfortunately, in my current team, I'm the only female at the technology leadership table
Mhm.
at kind of my grade
Right.
in EMEA. Um, and I've been at that position for a while in previous companies as well. So what I would say is it can be daunting, if you get to that point, and but just try to be yourself. Don't try to be one of the boys if you're in a situation where you're a
Mm.
female leader. You were hired because of your track record and because of who you are, and the fact that you might be a female leader in a stereotypically male environment is your strength. So that would be my advice, to be authentic and be true to yourself. You don't need to become a football fan or a sports fanatic or a beer drinker or any of the other stereotypes that we may have to fit in. So I think that's the first thing I would say. The second thing I would say is, and based on my own experience, is that, depending on your outlook, like what is for you won't go by you, is kind of a saying that I like, because I think that no matter what you hope you might do in your career or what your next position might be, something will come along that might change that or offer a different opportunity. So you might not get every interview that you go for, but you might get, the interview or the opportunity where you're the underdog, or you expected you might have been less successful. So don't be disheartened. Don't be disheartened if you have this goal and you find yourself taking a sideways step to get to it, or even if you change your goal. I think that's the other thing I would say. Um, and one other thing I would say is that to silence your inner critic. I think we all have inner critics. Okay, so it could be the perfectionist, the taskmaster, it could be the guilt tripper, or whatever your inner critic is telling you. So find a way to maybe, or the imposter syndrome, that some people talk about as well. So try to find a way to silence your inner critic and just be true to yourself, be confident in what you can do, and put yourself in a situation where you can get the balance between what you enjoy doing, where you have a strength, and then hopefully where you find that kind of purpose or drive that gives you back what you want, whether it's a career where you want to be, really proactive, or just an enjoyable job that gives you the means to do the other things that you want to do with your life.
Okay, yeah, they were some really honest and inspirational words. Thank you. I'm sure we can all take something from that. Yeah, we actually might finish it up there because I'm sure you've other things to be doing in your evening and a very busy
No
young
problem. It's
lady.
great to talk to you.
But thank you so much for taking time out of your diary to do this. Yeah, it's been a great insight and really interesting. So
A
thank you
pleasure.
so much, and it was lovely to
Thanks,
see
Molly,
you.
and good luck to you all in the DataSoc.
Thank you. Best of luck
Have
with
a
all
great evening.
your endeavors. You too. Bye, Lynn.
Thanks. Bye bye.
Bye bye.